Okay, great. We are recording. Okay, so again, my name is Jessica Munger, Program Coordinator at Move to Amend. Today we're talking about the We the People Listen project. And again, here are your participation tips. If you do have tech difficulties that I can't help you with as we're going, you can go ahead and email support@anymeeting.com. They're pretty responsive. So today's agenda, we're going to do a quick overview of Move to Amend, just to for anyone who might be new to Move to Amend. But then we'll go into some basics about listening projects and why Move to Amend is choosing to do this right now, and what we might get out of something like this. And then we're going to do an overview of the campaign itself and give you a feeling for what you might do if you engage in this. And then we'll have time for questions and discussion and talk about next steps. So Move to Amend is a coalition of hundreds of organizations and hundreds of thousands of individuals who are committed to social and economic justice, to ending corporate rule, and to building a vibrant democracy that is genuinely accountable to the people and not to corporate interests. So you may have heard this mission before, but to restate, I'm going to go into a little more detail here about what that actually means. The goals of Move to Amend are, of course, to pass the We the People amendment. And that amendment makes clear that artificial entities, such as corporations, do not have constitutional rights as people, and that money is not free speech. And these are two things that we strongly believe and we don't compromise on. Another goal of Move to Amend, though, is to provoke discussion and organizing around how to make real the promise of American democracy that we've always heard of, right? But we don't really have. So that's our job, is to educate about that and to be building a movement as we move towards this concrete constitutional amendment. So the constitutional amendment itself, again, states that corporations, unions, nonprofits, PACs, all of those artificial entities are not entitled to constitutional rights that should be reserved for human beings, and that money is not speech. So that means that campaign spending can be regulated, and that we have a handle on the influx of big money and dark money coming into our government and political system and elections. But Move to Amend, as we progress towards this amendment, as I said, has a deeper and longer agenda. So certainly constitutional renewal. We want to provoke these questions and discussions. And also we want to be building a movement, because we know that we can't take on this mighty task of amending the Constitution without having a strong political muscle to do it. And this really goes a lot further than just money and politics. This is about a liberatory framework, and it's about democracy and real justice, which should include all of us. So what's our strategy? How do we do this big thing we're taking on? Some of our main priorities, if you will, are include coalition building. So as I said, Move to Amend works with hundreds of organizations who do democracy work and things that are adjacent to democracy work. And we do this because we know that we each have a piece of the puzzle, and we need to work together in coalition to really make it happen. So we also know that we have to build a broad and diverse, multiracial, multi-ethnic, intergenerational movement in order to have the political muscle to do this. So a lot of our work is about movement building in that way. And we also know that this type of work starts in our own communities, and that it has to come from the grassroots and not from the top down. So it's important that we're working in our communities first, and then taking that into bigger arenas. So again, that's our focus on local organizing. And that's why so many of you are part of affiliates in your own communities who are doing this work and getting to know the people who are going to benefit from the work in your community. So that's part of the reason why this campaign is so important to us, is because we need to understand our communities in order to focus on local organizing. And our target at Move to Amend is really the American people. So we know that change is not going to come from Congress, right? We know that we need to trust ourselves and our communities and work there before we can before we can move up to Congress. So we do a lot of work on the ground, as you all do, talking with people and organizing locally. And then we have some resources in Congress. We do have an amendment that is in the House right now. It's HJR 48. And we have 30-something co-sponsors and improving every day. But the majority of our resources really still go towards grassroots organizing. And I am sorry that you're hearing some dings. I'm not sure what that's about. I think it is because folks are joining and then unmuting themselves. So just try to, when you get on, if you can mute your own phone, that would be really helpful. And I'll try to keep an eye on that too. Sorry about that. Okay, so a little bit about the history and purpose of listening projects. So listening projects, I think, are very unique because we all want to talk about the things we're excited about, right? We all want to talk about what bothers us and what we think needs to change and how we think we should do it, especially in a climate like this, where change is happening so rapidly and there's a lot of things we might be angry about or not understand or want to talk about and work through. And so listening campaigns are unique because it's our job as organizers to actively listen to the needs of our community. So this is common in the start of campaigns, whether they're electoral campaigns or issue campaigns like ours. A good place to start is to go out and say, okay, what's up? What should we be doing? And the purpose is to build trust with our neighbors and in our communities in order for them to work with us and be in solidarity so that we have something to lean on in our communities. We have to gain their trust. And really, that comes with a lot of listening. So it's a really powerful tool for us and an opportunity in this moment where people want to scream and they want to be heard. We're here to listen. So that's why this is, I think, a great time for us to do this project again. We did it in 2013 and our affiliates really liked it. So hopefully we'll have even more opportunity that comes out of this moment. It's also a great tactic for our agenda for Move to Amend. As I've said before, it's all about building people power and a movement for democracy. So that comes from relationships. It comes from talking to your neighbors and your church members and your union members and all of that. So it really is not only a good thing to do, but it's strategic as well. I'm going to try, before we go to the next slide, to unmute my colleague, Millie. Millie Harmon is part of the Mendocino affiliate. She's also on staff now here at Move to Amend, and she was active in the last time we ran this campaign. So I'm just going to try to unmute you, Millie. Hopefully this will work, and see if we can get you to just say a few words about your experience and why this project is important to you. So I'm going to unmute you here. Hopefully this will work. And then if you could unmute your own phone, you should be able to talk now. Maybe not. Millie, are you there? Okay, we're having a little technical difficulty, so maybe that won't happen.
Hear me?
Nope, we had you for a second there. Bear with us here. Try that again, Millie.
Hello? I'm so sorry.
There you are. Oh, that's
okay, for some reason I need to hold this like a walkie-talkie, but that's okay. Let me, I'm from Northern California. My involvement in activism had always come from a pretty liberal place. Did a lot of environmental and social justice work. And a really neat, I guess, phenomenon that happened for me while doing this project was we went into all sorts of neighborhoods. I mean, from this really, really wealthy vacation homes to, upper scale, kind of more retired white communities to, basically project homes. And it was really, really sort of endearing to connect with people from all different walks of lives and political views. And everything, and to get on this similar level of how they felt that they had been negatively impacted. And, you know, it's, I guess I didn't give people enough credit either, because, you know, with just a few little sort of guiding questions, people really pour their hearts and souls out, and it affects people way more than a sort of superficial, you know, metaphorical way. It's destroyed their livelihoods. It's taken away family farms. It's you know, changed their lives, and that, you know, despite ideology. I was talking to really conservative Republicans who, you know, owned you know, hardware stores and things in this town that were taken away from them by big business coming in, and so it was a huge moment to really connect with community members and talk with people or listen to people that you would never maybe walk up to on the street or even connect in a grocery store with. And I live in a very, you know, a pretty small town, so the, you know, chances for those opportunities are more than other places. But it really, and I think now and more than ever, we really need to be able to connect to one another as human beings. And this really gives us the chance to, you know, hear the needs of our community, and, you know, on a really individual, personal basis. So I think that's it. Hope that was clear.
Thank you so much, Millie. It was really good to hear from you as an affiliate member who did this in a small town, which is probably where a lot of us are coming from here. So really appreciate your firsthand experience there. So you might be wondering, okay, but what does this look like? What exactly does that mean? So I'm going to show you a video that some of our awesome staff and interns made, giving you an idea of what this actually looks like in practice. How do you go up to someone's door and ask them questions about corporate power and start this conversation? And how do we actively listen and let them know about the work that we're doing as well? So give me a second here, and I'm going to get the video pulled up for you. Right, are you ready for this? Do we have everything?
I think so. We've got a rap sheet, clipboard, survey response sheet, move to the petitions.
Yep.
We have the intro flyer, right?
Okay, yeah, let's do this.
Do it.
Hi. What group are y'all in?
Hi, my name's Julie. It's actually my colleague Keon. And we're volunteers with
Two men.
We're a national grassroots organization that's working to fight against corporate personhood and corporate constitutional rights, and to make clear that their money is not received. Yeah. And what was your name?
I'm Delphine.
Delphine, it's nice to meet you.
Likewise. Do you want me to fill out a petition?
No, actually, today we're going door to door in our community, and we're part of the We the People Listen campaign. So we're just actually going to ask you guys a couple of questions about corporate influence and corporate life. Do you have a couple of minutes to chat with us?
Yeah, sure.
Awesome. Okay, great. So the first question is, how do you think, do you feel like you're negatively affected by corporations?
Definitely.
Yeah. And how do you think that is? Like, how, in what ways do they impact you?
Well, it seems like corporations have all kinds to say about just the foods that my family and I eat, and the FDA and the EPA are not doing enough to make sure that we're healthy and safe. And also, like, there are people without homes, and there's no affordable housing around here. And these same folks are getting criminalized for trying to survive up north. Yeah. And then there's the police violence. Cops are so heavily armed, and they're killing so many folks each year, mostly black and brown folks. And this is not okay. We're holding the police department.
No, you have some really great points.
And they're getting more and more culture.
Yeah, they're really good. And so, what do you think the three biggest problems in our country are currently?
are dying off, that's our food supply right there.
Yeah.
And I'm also concerned about how homeless folks need housing, and how we got to do something to stop the police violence.
What do you think something that we should do to solve something?
I think that it's funny you asked. I've never asked that question. First of all, we need to ban the glyphosates in the units. Those are killing the bees.
Yeah.
We also need to do something about affordable housing. Like require the funded housing development to force the any contractor real estate agency to provide affordable housing based on the actual unmet needs of homeless folks, including the women, children, LGBT youth, and we've got to ban the private business districts from harassing streets. To do about the police.
Well, good thing you bring that up. Actually, a lot of corporations make huge profits off of actually people getting thrown into jail for petty crimes, for really small misdemeanors and stuff like that. So actually, banning for-profit prisons that actually make money off of these things would be a good step. There's also large corporations who actually sell militarized weapons to the police forces. So if we ban that would make a really good step maybe towards that. And so that's something that we're really trying to work towards. Yeah.
So how do we put these solutions in place?
So we need to hold the corporations accountable. Bottom line, we cannot let them continue to become funded, and we need to organize boycotts and really let them know that we're the ones that have word on these. Our churches, our schools, and retirement funds to invest in companies that are planet, and we need to also get those elected officials to hold their feet to the fire.
Totally.
And get rid of them. Put them out if they don't actually do their jobs.
Yeah, and that's actually, those are really great suggestions, and it's actually stuff that we do at Move to Amend, and that our organization and our campaign is actually working towards, which is really great to hear that you're thinking about that. And so another big step is actually talking to community members and talking to people and actually getting them to think about corporate influence and corporate rule in their own lives, and kind of question what, should we really have corporations that have the same rights as people? And we're here to make clear that they shouldn't. And so would you actually be interested in joining a group that's actually going to be fighting against corporate rule?
Well, I got to think about that. I am pretty busy, but throw them.
We actually do have one here. We have it in Sacramento, Move to Amend. We meet once a month, usually on a Wednesday, just at the downtown. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I'm really interested.
Great. Okay. Well, we would love to see you there.
Do you have a brochure?
Yeah, we do have a brochure. So it's a little bit more about us. Move to Amend. I can get involved with us.
And while you have us here, do you have any questions for us that we didn't answer?
No, that's good. Thank you. All right.
Thank you so much.
So thank you so much for your time.
I really good to meet you.
You too. We hope to see you next meeting.
Yeah, thank you. Have a good day. Right on.
Okay. All right. So thanks so much to Kimmy and Keon and Delphine who put that together. I think it's nice to have a representation of what this could look like, because it's sometimes intimidating to walk up to strangers' doors. But most of the feedback we've had from the last time we did this project is that people were really excited to talk. And so that's our job, is to listen. Okay, so to talk a little bit about the specific goals of this year's project, we really want to learn what's important to our communities, and we want to help them to find out what issues of democracy and corporate power manifest in their lives. We want to build relationships, and we want to build trust in our community by having these conversations and relationships. We want to grow our capacity and our organizing skills of our local groups. And if you're doing this outside of an affiliate group, then maybe to build capacity in your whatever format you're doing this. We also want to, of course, grow support and the number of petition signatures we have. And we'd like to collect these responses from as many people as possible, from as many different kinds of places as possible. So we want to have a really good sample size here. So that's why we're encouraging as many people as possible to get out and talk to as many people as possible. Okay. In terms of specific numbers, this is going to be slightly different than the last time we did this project. So we have some projections and some ideas for goals that affiliates or other groups might set for themselves, but really it's going to be up to you, because you're the ones who know how much time you have, how much people power you have, and how much ground you want to cover. But these are our hopes. We hope to have 100 different groups around the country participating. So we don't have 100 affiliates right now, which means that we're encouraging groups who aren't yet Move to Amend affiliates to also do this. You don't have to be an official Move to Amend group to get out there and talk to your community. We would recommend maybe 1 to 2 days a month of actually canvassing and going out and knocking on doors. Generally, people were seeing 15 to 25 responses on each day. Of course, that depends on the number of folks you have going out to knock on doors. And that would mean maybe a suggested minimum goal, if you want to set a goal, would be about 100. But again, we won't prescribe this to you. It would be a good idea to set a goal for yourself so that you know what you're working towards. But that's really up to you and your group. So I'm going to try now to hand it to my friend Shelly here to introduce herself and read through the survey questions that you just heard my colleagues asking on the video. She'll read you those, and then she'll talk a little bit about active listening. So Shelly, just let me know when you want me to go to the next slide.
Okay, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Great. Okay, so I'll just kind of go through the questions here, and then we'll go a little bit more in depth on some of the kind of active listening concepts that are really helpful doing this kind of work. So the questions are as follows. The first question is, do you feel like you are negatively affected by the power of giant corporations? And if they say yes, then the follow-up question would just be a really open-ended why or how so. The next question is, what do you believe are the 3 biggest problems in this country? Third question, what do you think we should do to solve these problems? The fourth question, how could we put these solutions into place? Fifth question, do you think corporations and their influence on our government are preventing these solutions from being used? Question 6, would you be interested in joining a group of people fighting for justice and against too much corporate power? And the final question is, do you have any questions for us? So we can move on into the next slide. So you might have noticed that this was pretty heavy on the open-ended questions. The closed-ended questions are kind of used to, hone in on something, but the open and closed question, or the open questions, are really, really important because they can encourage a full and meaningful answer, and kind of, while the person is communicating, it can help them to kind of even develop they're developing their own kind of analysis at the same time. And so it's really good to just kind of let that flow. And And then we want to use kind of clarifying statements. Those are really helpful. Maybe you didn't understand something that was referenced, or maybe you do understand something that they mentioned, but maybe you want them to kind of tease it out a little more. It's really good to, say, what did you mean by that? Or can you tell me more about that? Those are really great ways to kind of pull out more information and get them to keep, talking. And then we also want to summarize, which is, really an important part of active listening. So, maybe they just told you a big story and then you kind of, summarize it. So it sounds like, that combination of transportation issues and having a disability has made it so much harder to keep a steady income while you're waiting for your SSDI hearing. So, they told you this story and you just confirmed for them, I heard what you were saying. And that's really important and builds trust. Show interest. So nodding and eye contact and, the mm-hms, that kind of thing is really, helps people feel engaged. And then listening for feelings. So, we want all of the facts. We want the who, the what, the where, the when, the why. But we also want to be picking up on their feelings. There might be some keywords in there and things that can kind of help you take them down that road and connecting these, the reality of corporate power to not only actual things that are going on in their life, but, how it impacts them. And signaling and encouragement, I think I touched on that a little bit. So the nodding, the eye contact, oh wow, that sounds hard. Things like that as they're talking can be, really encouraging for them to feel safe in continuing what they're talking about. Paying attention to nonverbal communication is also really important. So kind of, noticing facial expressions, noticing, the distance, the physical distance that maybe they might seem to want to have and respecting that. Do they have kind of a defensive arms crossed stance? In that case, you might have a little more work to do in making them feel safe in talking with you. Maybe they're, fidgeting or seeming nervous or anxious. If you're, safe, if they feel safe. Sorry, I just lost my train of thought because I was looking at that comment. If you've kind of established that trust and they seem like they're anxious or nervous, you might even be able to say, you seem a little anxious and nervous when you're talking about that. I'm sure that this isn't easy to talk about. Those are the kinds of things that, continue to make people feel more and more comfortable talking with you. So we don't want to interrupt or do distracting things. And that's kind of, why we have teams of 2, and we'll kind of go more into that, the different roles and why we send out people in teams of 2. Probing. So that's going to be, just these questions and getting them to keep unpacking stuff, especially if you're noticing that light bulbs are going off in their head, keep them going down that path, keep them going, making those connections and just asking, more open-ended questions or clarifying questions. Reflecting is also really important. That's kind of, paraphrasing and restating feelings and words that they used. Shows that you're listening, but also shows that you're trying to understand. So you felt really discouraged when you did everything that they asked of you and you jumped through all those hoops and they still didn't approve your application. Just kind of, reflecting back what they told you and making sure that you had it right. And then they feel like you're really listening. And then avoid prejudice, judgment. We all have judgments and we all kind of know how we feel about corporate power. We don't want to transmit that too much. I mean, we're obviously moved to amend and, we're not hiding that or anything, but this is the listening project. We are here to listen. And so that is the number one priority. If it feels like, they really, really want more information, then obviously give it to them. But, we're not here to get on our soapbox and pontificate. We're here to listen and get information that will, help us better understand corporate power in our own communities and building those relationships. So yeah, that's active listening. And I will pass it back to Jessica. Thanks.
Thanks so much, Shelley. Really appreciate that. Okay, and you'll notice when you watch the video, Kimmy, our canvasser, she did a great job at active listening. She was interested. She said, "Yeah, I hear that," and really, I think at the end of this, our job here is to help connect the dots for people. To say, when Delphine, who was the resident, was saying, yeah, the militarization of police is a problem that I see. And then Kimmy was able to say, yeah, well, there's corporate power involved there, obviously, because these corporations are making a lot of money selling these weapons. So there's a really great example of how we say yes, and we affirm all of that, and then we tie it back to corporate power. So that's what we're going for here. So here's the general outline of how this will look. Step 1, join the We the People Listening Project webinar. Check, you're here. Congratulations. Then when you're getting ready to get started, you want to reach out to partner groups near you. So as I said, Move to Amend is a coalition. We work with tons of other organizations, and there are some that want to help out. I'll talk to you in a minute specifically about the Pachamama Alliance, because they have communities in a lot of the places where you have affiliate groups and they want to help out. So we can talk more about that as well. Then you're going to hold a kickoff meeting. So we'll give you a sample agenda of how that could look, but you want to have your kind of rally cry and your giving people their roles and figuring out your plan and getting people excited about this. And then over the span of a few months, you're going to have 6 to 8 or more, if you want, Canvas days where you actually go out and talk to folks. And then you'll have a monthly meeting probably with your affiliate group, or you'll want to check back in with whatever group you're doing this project with so that you can compare notes and make sure everything is going as planned. And that's an internal meeting. And then there's also a monthly conference call with us where we will be there to answer questions and offer support and hear about your experience. So you can join those calls. As many people as you like from your group are welcome to join. And then we have some resources that you can use about local and national press outreach. You might want to tell your local press that you're doing this campaign and say, hey, folks, you might see strangers coming to your door and asking you to talk to them about corporate power. Be ready for us. And then you might tell the local press, we did this project and this is what we learned, and really maximize this opportunity to get some press as well. And then at the very end, you're going to sit down with your group and do an evaluation of everything you learned and kind of synthesize the information that you gathered and figure out how that could inform your organizing and your going forward. I want to acknowledge that the last time we did this project, this part kind of fell flat, to be honest. We got a bunch of people who went out and did the surveys, and I think that the affiliates who did this really got a lot out of it, and it did inform their organizing, but there might have been a better way to make that sort of synthesis a bit more formal. So what we're asking this time is that affiliates are going to know, and other groups are going to know what's going to be the best way to go about this. So we'll get more into what this looks like as the campaign goes forward, but we're hoping that each group can write up some sort of synthesis of this and let us know what's going on in your community. It's not realistic really for us this time around to take every survey and do that ourselves. And it's going to be more effective if you do it anyway. So we will guide you through that. We will help you if you don't have capacity to do that. But we think that it will be best if you all take and apply this information and then share with us so that we can get the word out as well. Thanks for your questions here in the chat bar. I see them and we'll get to any ones that don't get answered here at the end. Okay. So speaking of involving partner organizations, we've got friends over at the Pachamama Alliance. They are an organization that works to change the narrative and change the story about the planet that we live on and the way that we interact with the planet. And so they are very supportive, and they have what they call communities all over the country. in a lot of places where we have affiliate groups. And so they are excited about this project and they want to help out. So if you sign up and tell us that you're going to do this project, if there is a Pachamama Alliance group in your town, we're going to connect you with them. And so you have contact information to tell them what you're doing and invite them in. And that'll help to boost your team and your numbers and capacity to do this project, and also to build relationships with the groups that we work with on a national level. And a lot of our affiliates already do work with Pachamama Alliance, but if you haven't yet, this will be a great chance to get to know them. Okay, so here is an agenda for the campaign kickoff meeting that you're going to hold with your group. And of course, you can adjust this if you need to. It's just our suggestions here. So first, you might show this very video. Hello, everybody, if you're watching it at the meeting right now, so that you can get an overview and everyone can know what we're doing. And then you'll want to set targets for your local campaign. So as I said, maybe you'll want to have numbers or more qualitative targets. It's up to you. And you'll set the schedule, how many days you're going to go out, which days, considering weather and demographics and neighborhood and time of day. It'll be important to remember that, you know, a lot of people work during the day or go to school. You know, you might consider these accessibility issues when you're thinking of when to go out and which places to go when. And of course, this comes into the discussion to determine where to go. You want to be thinking diversely. So think about going to places where you might not have a lot of contacts in that area of your town, or you know, it's demographically different from where you live. We want to try to get as wide a sample as possible here. And then you get organized. So you assign the tasks and the roles that people are going to have in this project, and make the canvassing teams, and get going. And then you might want to do some role playing and practice, because a lot of people, I think, are intimidated by talking to strangers, which is totally reasonable. But it helps if you can kind of practice and play it out. And it can be kind of a fun group building activity anyway, because it can get kind of silly and theatrical. So a little practice will go a long way. Okay, so speaking of those roles that you will want to assign to folks, you'll recognize some of this from the video that we showed. So you've got a meeting facilitator or multiple meeting facilitators who will be responsible for preparing the agendas, you know, setting the meeting reminders and facilitating the meetings. You might already have someone in that role. If you're an affiliate group, you might not. And then you've got canvas captains. So these people are responsible for managing the canvassing days, getting the reminders out, setting up the shifts, bringing the supplies, doing trainings, and collecting responses and making sure all the data is in one place. And then you've got the data captains. And those people are kind of responsible for the data itself. So compiling it, starting and leading the synthesis of it, and then eventually giving us what you have come up with so that we can help get the word out too, and see what the more national picture is here. And then, of course, you've got the canvassers. So those are the people who are responsible for representing Move to Amend in the community when you go out. They should be friendly and approachable and interested in what people have to say, and able to answer questions. But I want to pause on that point, because you might feel like, uh-oh, I don't know everything there is to know about constitutional law and passing an amendment and Move to Amend. That's okay. You don't need to know everything. You don't even need to know most of it. You just need to know, you know, what you would want to tell somebody if they asked you. So you'll notice at the end of the video, Delphine said, you know, she showed interest in Move to Amend and said, oh yeah, I might be interested in, do you have a local group? And that's when they said, yes, we do. We meet on Wednesdays. You know, here's the petition. So I want to make a point of that. Absolutely. If someone is interested in asking, you know, have them sign the petition, right? We're organizers, and we're good organizers. So we know that we take every possible opportunity to get a signature or to talk about Move to Amend and spread the word. That's still true. However, this project is really focused on listening. So you're not pushing that information on people. The goal of going to someone's door is not to give them information. It's to listen. So that's your first priority. But if the tone is set and they're engaged and interested, by all means, ask them to sign the petition, give them a brochure and your meeting information. You'll feel how the situation is, and if that's they'll be receptive to that. And then you'll notice too, we had Kimmy who was asking the questions, and then we had Keon who was recording. So as Shelley said, we don't want to get distracted, and it's really hard to write down important points in a conversation while you're trying to be an active listener. So that's why we have two people who go up to the door, one to take notes and one to be the person speaking. Okay, then we've got this series of conference calls, like I mentioned, every month, one Wednesday a month at 5 Pacific. You can join and ask any questions you might have, offer any advice you might have for others, and get support that you might need. And we'll get you more information in the call-in number and all of that. But know that you've got a monthly place to check in. And if stuff comes up in between those calls, you can always call us at the office or email as usual. And then we've got a really great webpage that's got all kinds of resources for you here, and it's got everything you need to feel comfortable and prepared to go out and do this. So we've got a campaign kickoff meeting agenda, we've got survey questions and tips about talking to people, talking points about move to amend, some checklists to make sure you have everything you need, sample press releases, so you can just fill in the details with your town and send it to your local press. And then we've got a process as well to submit your information. And I said we'll get more towards the end of the campaign, talking about what that looks like. But we also have the video is going to be posted on the webpage, and a couple of other helpful resources. A few things that weren't mentioned yet that are new this time around. We have these nifty little petitioning kits that we made up. So we've got the bag that Kimmy was carrying in the video. It's like a move to amend bag. It comes with petitions and other things that are kind of your pre-made kit to go out with. So if you do collect petition signatures, you can upload those to the website, or you can mail them to us and we will upload them. And you might also consider taking with you some voter registration cards. Some folks enjoyed that the last time we did this project. They can go, you can download the forms, or you can get them from your local elections office or DMV or post office, and you can take those with you and offer them in case folks aren't registered to vote and they want to be. So everything you need is on the webpage, and if you can't find it, give us a call. But it's at movetoamend.org/listen. Okay, so we're going to pause here for some questions. I think that Shelley has done a pretty good job kind of catching up here in the chat bar, but I am going to look over some of these and try to answer them out loud so you can all see. Can you buy the bags without buying the kit? That's a good question. Let's see, Shelley, do you know the answer to that? If so, would you mind typing it there in the chat bar and I can read it aloud? It's a good question, Joy. Okay, Roger from Minnesota says, we live in Minnesota Congressional District 8, which is represented by Nolan, author of HJR 48. This lends a targeted focus on the dynamics of increasing the number of co-sponsors. Minnesota Public Radio today noted that 80% of U.S. population are disturbed by Citizens United. Is open listening, assuming people are not in great majority at a point where they, lost my place. Sorry. Is open listening, assuming people are not in great majority at a point where the survey conversation needs to be not shaped by the 20%? Sorry, I'm not sure I totally understand that question, but I think you're asking about why there are some people who aren't disturbed by Citizens United, I think is what you're saying. I think that honestly, those 20 whatever % of people who don't agree with our call for a constitutional amendment, they're either maybe misunderstanding the issue or a little scared of the implications. Like maybe they own a corporation and they're like, wait a second, I need to be able to operate my business. And so usually with a conversation, you can kind of assuage those fears. I've never had a conversation with anyone who didn't end up agreeing with me at the end when it comes to this amendment. I've started conversations with people who are very skeptical and who say, that sounds kind of dangerous. And it's always come around at the end once you explain a little bit. So I'd say that 20% is mostly that. Okay. Missed the part about petition signing at the end. Yes, you can ask for a petition signature if they're interested. I think I covered that. Okay. Oh, Joy Arnold asked, do we get any contact info for follow-up involvement? Again, if it's feeling right, if it's feeling like they're interested and excited, absolutely. If not, nope. Because our goal is to listen here. But certainly, if you can interest people, then yeah, absolutely. Okay. Any other questions here? See any more in the chat bar, but if you have any, you can go ahead and type them in now. And while we wait and see if there are more questions, let's just talk quickly about our next steps. So when I end the webinar here, you're going to see a link to complete a survey. That just tells us how the audio quality was and lets the software we're using know how it went. And then if you could please do that, that would help us out. And then contact us if you have any questions about this, if you want clarification on anything you learned today. And then you're going to hold your campaign kickoff meeting. So we don't care exactly when you do it. This program is going to run through September. So the September call will be kind of a debrief and talking about synthesizing and stuff. So you've got several months to run this, and you can do it however you want. We suggest sometime between now and like mid-May is where we're hoping. We would thinking May would be the time to get started ideally. But of course, that's up to you. And then we go ahead and we listen, and we do the dang thing. We talk to our community members and figure out what has their attention at the moment. And then, yeah, we eventually we apply that information and become better organizers. And then we amend the Constitution. Doesn't that sound good? Okay. Well, I don't see any more questions here. But if they come up for you after this, again, feel free to reach out. You can email us at info@movetoamend.org, or you can call the office. All that information is on our website. And thank you all so much for joining tonight. And if you have any hesitancy about this and need questions answered, please ask us. We're really excited to get this going. And thank you again for joining the webinar tonight. It will be posted on the website soon. Thanks so much, everybody. Take care.